7 force field. Don't worry. I'll break you out of there. Glad I could help.
Good morning, Patriots. It is Praying Medic. This is my QAnon update for May 1st. Although, I built this thread on Twitter on April 30th. If you are following Q posts on QAnonposts.com, this thread will begin at post number 1292. My theme for this series is the Iran deal exposed. Fasten your seatbelts because I have got an update for you. All right. I get to tell a story this time. Not so many links that we have to go through. I'm going to give you my theory on what this whole Iran deal thing was all about. So I'm going to start out with this post. And this was posted by an anon. It's kind of a mysterious post. Increased chatter regarding Mueller, and this was posted on the 28th of April. Are you confused? Attempts to contact have failed. Can you trust your move? 11-9 Bravo David 23. I don't know what that means. But Q then responded to that post with this. Shall we play a game? Can you trust? You know that we know. You know what we have. Your move, Q. All right. And then Q posted this. Noted IP ghost, Q. And I might as well throw this into real quick and then we can explain it. And Anon said, ghosting an IP address means you're posting emails, etc. from an IP address that is not your own. Essentially spoofing your IP address so that you can conceal your identity. Q here is essentially trolling the deep state. Q is telling them, look, you know what we have, you know the evidence, and you know what's going down. It is your move. So one thing to keep in mind with this particular update today is keep in the back of your mind, Q has laid out a lot of evidence, has put out some information for the deep state that maybe they shouldn't have trusted Robert Mueller, that maybe Mueller is actually working with the president. And today there's going to be more evidence that is going to be put out that is going to put the deep state in panic because their whole game has been exposed. Q has told them they put their trust in the wrong people. And this is now a game of trolling. Okay, so let's move on to the next post. One of the Anons posted this. It's from the president's rally in Michigan. I think it was on Saturday. We're not alone. Drove 3 hours with my wife's ex, but that's a whole other story. We walked for over a mile. We stood outside. Wind chill was 36 degrees for 3 hours to support POTUS in Washington Township of Michigan. There were between 10 to 15,000 patriots standing outside watching on a jumbotron. They couldn't get in. There were shouts of Q Army, who is Q, and released the text. If you think your efforts are not making a difference, my experience tonight says otherwise. Anons and autists, your efforts are more important than you will ever know. So from someone who does not have your skill set, from one patriot to another, thank you for your service. Where we go one, we go all. All right. Q responded to that. Godspeed, patriots. Stay strong. Stay united. Boom, week ahead, Q. Boom, week ahead. Oh my gosh, Q is not kidding. You ready? Okay. So Sunday morning, Q posted this. Be careful who you are following. Some are profiting off this movement. Some are building a big following off this movement, only then to retreat and go mainstream. Patriots make sacrifices, some the ultimate sacrifice. Patriots are selfless. Do they ask for monthly payments to remain patriots? Think logically. To some, it's only about the money. To those who would seek personal gain at the expense of others in this movement, they have an agenda? You decide. This is not a game. The only profit we should be striving for is true freedom. God bless you all. Q. All right. I am going to spend just a few minutes on this. I read a couple of posts on Twitter. Tracy Beans did a thread, and Jerome Corsi tweeted out some things. And I sensed in their messages some frustration, as if Q was maybe bringing criticism upon them. I don't think Tracy or Jerome Corsi or Lisa Mae Crowley or anybody else who's doing these Q decodes, who is a patriot, who is putting in a lot of time doing a lot of research, I don't think they have to feel bad. I don't think they have to feel guilty about receiving financial support. I don't think Q was accusing them of having wrong motives. I think he just wants us to distinguish between people who are patriots and people who are in it to make money. Some of my YouTube videos have been pirated by other people. They upload them to their channels and they are making money off of my videos. I think those are the people that Q is talking about. So I don't feel terribly bad about this whole thing. My wife wrote this blog post. It's the most current one on my website, prayingmedic.com. It's a response that helps you understand our motives if you're interested in reading it. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Look, I was doing this QD codes long before I had a Patreon account. My Patreon account I've only had for a couple of weeks. And I set it up because people asked me to. I've been getting messages from people on Twitter and through email saying, hey, I want to support you. I don't want to use a PayPal payment. Can you set up a Patreon account? Can I send you a check? So people have been asking me for different ways to support me financially just because they believe in what I'm doing. So I finally got tired of people asking me, and I did set up a Patreon account a few weeks ago. And, you know, I am blessed by the fact that people want to support me financially. I'm not in this for the money. I was doing, you know, news and current events updates on Periscope and YouTube for quite a while before Q showed up. And look, if my Patreon account goes to zero, and if nobody supports me on PayPal, I'm still going to be doing Q updates because this information is critical. People need to have it. People really benefit from the work that I do. And for me, it's not about the money. All right. Now let's move on to something a bit more interesting. Okay, Q posted this. Thank you to the board owners, BOs, is board owners, bakers, and the autists and anons who continually dedicate their time and energy to the Great Awakening. You are all patriots. The hard part is coming to an end. The next phase will bring justice. Q+. For those of you who don't know, BO is the board owners. It's people who manage the boards on 8chan and 4chan. Bakers are people who put together and manage the threads on 8chan. Autists and anons are just the average everyday people who do research on the chans and respond to Q and provide information for the rest of us to look at. And look, I get my insights and my information from 2 or 3 sources. The first of which is God. When I sit down to do a Q thread, I don't always have a clear understanding of where it's going to go or how to make the connections between different things that Q has posted. I don't always have everything decoded. I do some research ahead of time and I look at what the anons are saying. But when I sit down to build a Twitter thread like this, the ideas start flowing, the connections are made, things start making sense to me, things that did not make sense 10 minutes earlier. I have learned from my walk with God that is God speaking to me. He speaks to me through my thoughts. He speaks to me through ideas and making connections that I didn't have any understanding of. So first and foremost, my ability to decode Q is primarily God making the connections for me. He is the real Q decoder. All right. The other thing is, I do quite a lot of research looking on 8chan what the autists and anons are posting. They often give me insights into things I had not considered. So look, we are a team. We all work together. I wish that the anons could get some financial support for what they're doing, because their work is valuable. Whenever Q posts Q+, he is posting on behalf of his entire team. Just want to bring that out. And make note, the hard part is coming to an end. Okay. We've been doing a lot of research. We've been digging. We have been putting in a lot of hours to try to put the pieces together. And that part of this whole thing is coming to an end. You'll see here at the end of this video where we are and where we were months ago. We're in a place where we're transitioning. The justice phase of this is coming. All right, Q posted this. Statements today needed to be made. Operators have died. They approach the field of battle without fear. They lay down their lives for you. They are selfless. They're fighting for our freedom. They fight unconditionally because they hold a core value that we should all live in freedom. We honor them. We must do better to protect them. Where we go one, we go all. Q+. Patriots. All right. I'm good. And Anon posted this. He finally figured out what Iron Eagle meant. Q has been posting Iron Eagle for a long time, and people have been working on what does Iron Eagle mean. So the Anon said, no, eager lion in Iron Eagle. It's an anagram. Okay. And Q posted this as confirmation that he's correct. So if you're interested in eager lion, it's a 2-week military exercise in the Middle East with, I think there's 18 countries that participate in it annually: Jordan, UK, France, Italy, Pakistan. And that is an operation, it's a training exercise that's been going on since 2010. All right, so the Anon says eager lion is an anagram for Iron Eagle. And it's not a perfect one, but you'll see how we decode that in just a minute. And Anon posted an excerpt from an interview by a longtime Hillary supporter who thinks the Mueller investigation should be ended. Why are Dems calling for the end of the Mueller investigation? Are Hillary supporters now afraid of Mueller? And this article refers to the fruit of the poisonous tree. I don't know if I've talked about that on these videos, but fruit of the poisonous tree is a legal doctrine. It basically says anything in an investigation that is obtained illegally, anything downstream from that, any further evidence, anything else that comes from the illegal evidence is considered fruit of the poisonous tree, and it can't be used legally. It taints the entire investigation. So that's why law enforcement has to be very careful about how they procure evidence and how they enter it into court to make it admissible. Anyway, point here being this Hillary Clinton supporter thinks that the Mueller investigation should be ended, and this is a link to it. So it makes you wonder, are the Dems now getting hip to the fact that Mueller may not be looking to take out Trump? That was the intention of Q's last series of posts. Q posted all that information about Mueller to get them wondering if they can trust him. And many people have asked me, isn't that going to tip off the deep state? Isn't that going to give them information where they can get out of town, where they can go and avoid prosecution? No, it isn't. This whole operation has been planned out very carefully. It's been, Denise is eating ice cream, by the way, in sitting next to me in a chair. So if you hear her spoon hitting the bowl, that noise in the background, that's her. This whole, you're fine. It's just that some people might hear the sound. This whole thing has been planned out for a long time. Nothing has been left to chance. If Q is now alerting these bad actors to the fact that they have made mistakes and miscalculated, and maybe Mueller is actually coming for them, it's too late for them to do anything about it. I suspect some of these people have already been arrested and are sitting in Gitmo. That's why I believe Q is now making this information public, is because it's too late for anyone to do anything with the information who wants to, escape prosecution. All right, moving along, Q this is posted this, and these are two messages. I'll show you those in just a minute. Actually, you already saw one of them, and it's the third message. And Q says, "Do you believe in coincidences? Autists are on fire." And then, "Do you believe in coincidences?" Again, think recent Mueller drops. Think private comms. They fall for it every single time. Risk. Watch what happens. Q. All right. This is in response to this. Q is saying that the Dems having misgivings about the Mueller investigation is because of Q's recent drops about Mueller. He wants them to start thinking that maybe they made a mistake in trusting Mueller. And private comms, Q was telling us in the last update the revelation that they were communicating through Gmail, through gaming platforms, and they were kind of frantically talking back and forth, what are we going to do with Mueller? Now, what if he's really not on our side? What if we can't trust him? Q trolled them, and they fell for it. They started chattering. They fell into the trap. Q basically set a trap for them. He got them nervous. He got them chattering. They started talking about their plans, and NSA has been listening to it. So, look, Q and the team, they're totally in control. We don't need to worry about this. All right. And these two posts here are about this. So this is the Eager Lion, Iron Eagle anagram decode. Another anon noted that the anagram isn't complete. It doesn't have the letter R. And the anon said R equals 18. And then he even signed his post Q. So Q reposted this as confirmation that he was correct. That is a decode. And let me explain what that means. Well, actually, I think this Baker here explains it. One more time for those of you who missed it. Let me click on this. The exercise is called Eager Lion 18. That's the year, 2018. The anagram for Eagle, Iron Eagle, and the anon says there's no R because the letter R is the number 18. 18 is, R is the 18th letter of the alphabet. So for those of you who are into numbers, letters, anagrams, there you go. There's your decode. All right. Q posted a link to a Twitter status by the U.S. Embassy in Jordan. It's just this and then Q. And here is the status update. It's just welcoming Mike Pompeo to Jordan. And this was posted on the 29th, on Saturday, I think. All right. Q then posted a link to a Twitter status by the U.S. Defense Department. Q says, connect, no coincidences. There is a link to the tweet by the Defense Department. Q. And here is a tweet by the Defense Department. Here comes the boom. Marines brace while an entrance is breached during exercise Eager Lion 18 in Jordan. So Q is asking us to connect the boom and Pompeo being in Jordan. All right. So Anon posted this, and Q reposted it. It's about the live fire exercises that U.S. troops are doing with Jordanian military. And all right. So I'm just going to go back a little bit. This was from the 24th. Remember, Iran is next. And it's a marker, and we told you before, a marker is a very important thing. It's a point of reference that we'll be going back to from time to time. Q said, reread POTUS today, mark it down, bigger problems than ever before, referring to Iran if they threatened to start up their nuclear program. Was it a signal to Iran? Oh, I think now we know it was. So he made a reference there to documents we talked about previously. It refers to more than the continued payments of $250 billion. Iron Eagle. Okay, sweet dreams, Q. Q has been posting Iron Eagle for a long time. Now we know what it means. It's related to these exercises in Jordan. And Anon posted this tweet from the military, checking out the Friday Night Lights over Jordan. All right, so Q is letting us know that something is going down in Jordan, big time in the Middle East. All right, Q said, our military assets are in place. All right, now, Q then posted this on the 29th. Emmy Awards are tonight. This was Saturday. Red carpet event, Q. All right, I checked out what the Anons were saying about this, and nobody figured it out. So from this point on, I'm going to need you to focus. I want to tie together a bunch of things that Q has posted previously that the Anons and I have tried to decode, but everything we've suggested has not yet been confirmed by Q. And what is following from here on is just a theory. I'm not certain that it's right. I don't post on 8chan, so I can't get confirmation from Q. If you are an autist and you want to post my stuff on there for confirmation, please do. I would like to get this confirmed by Q, either whether it's right or wrong. All right. So on the 24th, one of the Anons asked when we would see the MQAB. Okay, when will we have the MQAB? That's the big news story, mother of all bombs. Q responded, should we tell all the good people watching the date and time? Red carpet rollout? Think logically. The world is watching, Q. All right. Red carpet rollout. This was on the 24th. Okay, on the 29th, Q said, Emmy Awards, red carpet event, Q. Do you see it? Q was telling us on the 24th, when we saw the red carpet event, we would see the MQAB. The red carpet event is the Emmys. So the MQAB was going to be dropped on the same day as the Emmys. All right. And it has to do with Israel's large bomb that they dropped on what we now know was a nuclear facility, and some other fireworks that went on in the Middle East. That was the MQAB that happened on the 29th. Okay. And let me just show you this. Mike Pompeo was in Jordan on Saturday, the day of the Emmys. The MQAB was dropped on the day of the Emmys. The biblical name for Jordan is Moab. Coincidence? You decide. Okay, so let's dive a little deeper into something that Q has talked about in the past that we haven't done a really good job of decoding. Q posted this, and this is on the morning of the 30th. No name out now, and there's a link to a tweet about Lindsey Graham. We love good singers, Q. What is that about? Well, no name is John McCain. He has gone by, we don't say his name, he has gone by no name. Q normally doesn't say John McCain's name. And that is because McCain is considered to be a traitor of the highest order. This is the tweet by Lindsey Graham. He says, James Comey, I don't trust him. I think he was part of an effort at the FBI to give Clinton the pass. The way they conducted the investigation was a joke. All right, so that's the link that Q posted here. So why is Lindsey Graham all of a sudden coming out and criticizing Comey when he hasn't done that before? Well, there's a reason. And Q said, we love good singers. Keep that in the back of your mind. All right. Why is McCain out? Because he is not expected to return to Congress. Actually, this morning, his office announced that this will be his last term in the Senate. He is retiring. Okay. Q said he likes good singers. The term singing has often been used by Q. When does a bird sing? When it's caged, according to Maya Angelou. It's a euphemism for telling investigators what you know about a crime. Q is suggesting that Lindsey Graham has been forced to tell what he knows about some kind of crime, some kind of illegal activity. What is Lindsey Graham singing about? All right, well, we're going to find out what I think Lindsey Graham is singing about. Lindsey Graham and John McCain have been inseparable their whole time in Congress. McCain is chair of the Armed Services Committee, Senate Armed Services Committee. He is heavily funded by weapons contractors like Raytheon and Halliburton. Also, Saudi Arabia, the old Saudi Arabia, not the new one, donated $1 million to the McCain Institute some years ago. And I just want to point something out here. Saudi Arabia has undergone a major shift in the last year. Saudi Arabia used to be run by princes who were corrupt, who were funding terrorists. Under Prince bin Salman, the corrupt princes have been arrested, their assets have been seized, and bin Salman is not supporting terrorists. In fact, he's cracking down on it. He's also reforming Wahhabism. So whenever we talk about Saudi, just remember there's an old Saudi and there's a new Saudi. All right. McCain is well connected to and controlled by the deep state. He does their bidding in the realm of weapons procurement, including weapons of mass destruction. Now, I haven't said this recently, so I'm just going to go over a little explanation of what the global elites are really after. They want to create a one world government that they will be ruling over the rest of us. That goal of having a one world government requires the destruction of sovereign nation states and their subjugation under a single ruling entity. The destruction of sovereign nation states is necessary to remove international borders. Borders present an obstacle to global governance, so they have to be removed by whatever means necessary, including war. During the election, in one of the debates, Hillary got caught because she was heard saying that her vision for North America was one big borderless community. Canada, Mexico, Central America, U.S., one big borderless place. She admitted that she had this view of removing all the borders. Okay. The two main obstacles that prevent a true global government are Russia and the U.S. We have strong national identities, and our leaders, Trump and Putin, have refused to capitulate to the globalist demands for a borderless migration. So the strategy of the globalists, ideally, would be to get the U.S. and Russia into a nuclear war. We wipe each other out, and after that is done, the globalists will move in, and they will put everybody under their rule, and we'll have one big global government. Okay. That is the 40,000-foot view for the globalists. Keeping that in mind, back on April 8th, Q posted this: no name in Syria. No name is John McCain. Timeline, purpose, who attended, no name, panic, health cover, fast, Q. All right, so Q here is saying that people were supposed to build a timeline, figure out what the purpose was for McCain's meeting in Syria, a secret meeting. Who was there, and why is McCain panicking over this? And why is there this story about his health? Is it a cover for what's really going on? So we found out, these pictures are pretty well available on the internet, that Abu Masa, that ISIS press officer #1, was there at the meeting with John McCain. That al-Baghdadi, head of ISIS, was there, #2, he's in the back there. Mohammed Noor, Syrian terrorist, #3. It's behind. So, #4. He's this guy over here. So, McCain met with a bunch of known terrorists in Syria. And Q has been asking us to figure out why. What was going on? Q said, you have more than you know. There's a spider web. right? And we have to figure out where that spiderweb goes and what it's connected to. Q brought up this subject of McCain's meeting in Syria after the missile attack on Syria, which we've been told was related to the use of chemical weapons by Assad. This was from the 8th, and then Q posted this. Let me read it for you. Pictures were leaked for this very moment. Who and what is not pictured? What forces shadowed no name? Contractors, special contractors. What was delivered? Smiles. Exact location. Exact. Buildings. E of spiderweb. Spiderweb marker. Open source Q. So Q here was telling us something was delivered. There were contractors who followed McCain around, and they delivered something. What was it? And Q here is saying smiles, because they know what it is. It was my assumption that because this came up around the time that we attacked Syria, because of the chemical weapons that Assad was using, I kind of figured, well, maybe McCain was delivering chemical weapons or something. I didn't know. Q never confirmed any of that. The anons suggested that. We never got confirmation on it. And look, chemical weapons are not difficult to make. They're outlawed and they are dangerous, but the UN says they have evidence that Assad has made his own chemical weapons. So obviously McCain wasn't delivering chemical weapons, but he was delivering something. He went to Syria to deliver something. What was it? All right. With that background in mind, let's go on to this. This is from the morning of the 30th, and I'm just going to read this to you. Define the terms of the Iran nuclear deal. Does the agreement define and confine cease and desist pro to the Republic of Iran? What if Iran created a classified satellite nuclear facility in northern Syria? What if the program never ceased? What other bad actors are possibly involved? Did the U.S. know? Where did the cash payments go? How many planes delivered the cash? Did all the planes land in the same location? Where did the uranium-1 material end up? Is the material traceable? Yes, it is. Define cover. What if uranium-1 material ended up in Syria? What would the primary purpose be? Sum of all fears. In the movie, where did the material come from? What country? What would happen if Russia or another foreign state supplied uranium to Iran or Syria? War. What does uranium-1 provide? Define cover. Why did we strike Syria? Why did we really strike Syria? Define cover. Patriots in control Q. All right, so define cover means there is a public narrative that is covering up for what really happened. And we are going to look behind the cover stories on all this stuff and figure out what really happened, I think. Alrighty, moving along. So Q asks us to examine the terms of the Iran nuclear deal. I took this off of the Wikipedia page. Iran agreed to eliminate stockpile of medium enriched uranium, cut its stockpile of low enriched uranium to 98%, reduced by 2/3 the number of its gas centrifuges for 13 years. For the next 15 years, they could only enrich uranium up to 3.67%. That's below weapons grade. Agree not to build any new heavy water facilities. Uranium enrichment activities would be limited to a single facility using first-generation centrifuges for 10 years. Other facilities would be converted. They had to monitor and verify Iran's compliance by the International Atomic Energy Agency, and they would have regular access to all Iranian facilities. In return for verifiably abiding by its commitments, Iran would receive relief from economic sanctions. Okay, that's basically the Iran deal. And Q asked, now we're just going to break all this down, this long string of questions that Q asked. What if Iran created a classified satellite nuclear facility in northern Syria? Well, that's not a what if. They did. We know that they did. This is just one of many articles that exposes the secret facility that Iran built in northern Syria. secret underground nuclear facility in Syria baffles experts. Institute for Science and International Security looked into a 2015 report alleging that Syria was building another reactor, publishing their findings a day after Israel claimed responsibility for a 2007 attack. So this is just one article that you can go check out. There are many of them if you look for them. This is another one. Satellite imagery has shown that Iran was definitely building a nuclear facility in northern Syria near Russian positions. So the answer to Q's question, what if Iran was building a facility in Syria, a secret one? It's not a what if. We know that there were. Q asked, what if the program never ceased, the nuclear program? We know that it didn't cease. This facility was going up until recently. Q asked, what other bad actors are possibly involved? I'm not sure if that refers to other nations or other people. I'm sure there are. You can't do something like this without a lot of people involved. We're going to look at one of them in a few minutes. Did the U.S. know about it? Well, of course they did. The NSA knows everything that's happening on the geopolitical stage, so of course the U.S. knew about it. In fact, I would guess that our government facilitated it. Q asked, where did the cash payments go? How many planes delivered the cash? Did they all land at the same location? Q has suggested previously that the European Union is getting kickbacks from the Iran deal. So I'm going to assume one of the planes probably went to Brussels, one may have went to London. They're all getting money from this Iran deal, and it's our money, taxpayers. We're the ones who are paying for this, the kickbacks and the bribes. Q asked, where did the uranium-1 material end up? Is it traceable? Yes. Define cover. So there's a cover story that is concealing what really happened with the uranium that came out of the uranium-1 deal that was brokered by the Clinton Foundation and Obama and Mueller and all the other people who put together the uranium-1 deal back, I think, in 2011. Q asked, what if the uranium-1 material ended up in Syria? What would be the primary purpose? Sum of All Fears. Sum of All Fears is a Clancy novel. It's a World War III film where U.S. and Russia narrowly avert World War III. So Q is suggesting that some of the uranium that was supposed to go to Russia was diverted to Syria to create a potential war scenario. Q asked in the movie, where did the material come from? This anon said in the Sum of All Fears, the material bomb came from South Carolina. Coincidentally, is the state that Lindsey Graham is from. And Anon wants to know, what is Graham really singing about? Ooh, we got to go back to Lindsey Graham. He's singing. Is he singing about uranium going to Syria? All right, Q asked, what would happen if Russia or another foreign state supplied uranium to Iran and Syria? War, of course, because these are rogue nations that are largely, a lot of their operations are kind of run by terrorists. And if you give terrorists nuclear weapons, bad things can happen. What does uranium-1 provide? Define cover. All right, so the uranium-1 narrative is a cover story. That the uranium was all going to go to Russia. It's a cover story. It wasn't all going to Russia. Some of it was going to be diverted. So Q is suggesting, basically, that most of the uranium from the uranium-1 deal would go to Russia. Some was secretly shipped to Iran and Syria. It was important that it all come from the same batch. Why? Because, as Q said, uranium can be traced. Uranium isotopes have a unique fingerprint, and batches can be traced. It was illegal to sell uranium to enriched uranium to Syria and Iran because of the UN sanctions. But it was not illegal to sell uranium to Russia because they were not under UN sanction. So Hillary and Obama and all the people in the government put together the Uranium One deal, and they all signed off on it. Loretta Lynch and Mueller and everyone else, Holder, who was in government at that time, signed off on the Uranium One deal. The cover story was that it was all going to go to Russia. Secretly, they were going to allow some of it to go to Syria and Iran. Okay? And what happens then? Because it was the same batch of uranium that went to Russia, anyone who discovered that Syria and Iran had obtained uranium, they would do a trace on it. They would find out it came from the Russian shipment. They would think it came from Russia, and Russia would be blamed for selling it to them. Yes, the deep state shipped uranium to Syria and Iran to start a war, and if anyone discovered that they had it, Russia would take the blame. So Q asked, why did we strike Syria? Why did we really strike Syria? To find cover. We've been told for the last month that the airstrike on Syria was all about Assad's use of chemical weapons. But that's a cover story. So if you're one of those people who insisted that Assad didn't use chemical weapons, I don't know, maybe you're right, but at this point it's irrelevant. I suspect the real reason for the airstrike was to obtain proof that Syria had been building nuclear weapons for Iran. And I suspect that some of our spooks went in, got some evidence, got some of that uranium, and we now have proof that Obama's people shipped uranium to Syria from the batch that we sold to Russia. Israel has been doing some airstrikes. We did some airstrikes. I suspect that what we really did was we took out Syria's nuclear weapons facilities. Rather than the chemical weapons, it was all about nuclear weapons. Q said, Patriots are in control. Roger that, sir. They are. Let's go back to what I was talking about previously. How did Syria get the uranium? Well, Q asked, what did John McCain deliver on his secret trip to Syria? Probably wasn't chemical weapons. My guess is he facilitated the shipment of uranium into Syria. All right, so let's go back to the question that Q asked, what is Lindsey Graham singing about? Well, since Lindsey Graham and John McCain are tied at the hip, I'm guessing Lindsey Graham is telling Trump and the generals everything he knows about the uranium that was shipped to Syria. McCain and Obama and Hillary's part in all of that, he's telling them what he knows. Now, having all of that background information, let's look at this post from Q yesterday morning. Knowing what you now know regarding Israel's disclosure moments ago, and that is a reference to Netanyahu did a public presentation yesterday morning providing evidence, public disclosure of evidence showing that Iran had been in violation of the nuclear weapons agreement the entire time. Mossad went in and got hundreds of ring binders and folders and CDs showing that Iran was developing nuclear weapons in violation of the agreement. So Q is saying, knowing what you now know, and Q says that is authentic information, why is the Secretary of State there? Why is the EU and others pressing to remain in the deal? Think logically. France and Germany came to the White House for the sole purpose of pressing Trump to remain in the deal. 5% shared, that's 5% of the information. POTUS declassified Syria and Iran and Uranium One connection. Where does EU fit in? Sick. Q. All right, so Q has told us previously that the only reason Macron and Merkel care about coming to talk to Trump is to make sure we stay in the Iran deal. Why? Because they're getting kickbacks. They want their money. And they also want war. They would be okay if we had war. This is a link, YouTube, to Netanyahu's video saying that Iran hid their nuclear weapons program. And Q asked, why was Pompeo in the Middle East? Well, he was there to support our allies in the region as they help dismantle Iran and Syria's nuclear weapons program. They timed this to go down to coincide with Eager Lion, the training exercise. We have all of these nations and all of their military in the Middle East, in Jordan, doing live fire training. Oh, how convenient. Let's just expose Iran's nuclear weapons program while we have all of these coalition nations doing a live fire training exercise. Since we have all of our troops already there, if Iran or Syria try to do anything funny, they get annihilated. So it was all timed, I think, to coincide with Eager Lion. And Q said this: France and Germany came to the White House for the sole purpose of pressing Trump to remain in the deal. 5% of the information was shared publicly. POTUS declassified Syria and Iran and Uranium One connection. Where does the EU fit in? Again, it's about the money, I believe. Europe wants their money. They also want the European Union to envelop the entire world. That would happen after a war between the U.S. and Russia. I'm going to read this by Anon. It's really good. An extraordinarily complicated plot. All along, ISIS and the migration to Europe were distractions while the Iranians were doing their thing. Americans high up in the government transfer American uranium and tons of cash to Iran to help them produce a nuclear bomb. The bomb was to be used to nuke the U.S., and then the Russians would be falsely blamed for the attack. President Hillary would then go to Congress and get approval to declare war on Russia. It would be World War III, all to enrich the Rothschilds, Hillary, Obama, and their evil friends. They needed desperately for this to work. Things suddenly went awry when Hillary lost the election. But the cabal is still pulling all their tricks. They sent Manny, Merkel, to try to convince Trump to stay in the Iran deal. All of them failed. Now they're in panic mode because there will be no war with Russia, and they've been exposed. But did they really think this through? It seems a bit short-sighted. We have nuclear weapons to fight such a war, but so does Russia. Neither side would win. The nuclear fallout would severely impact the planet for decades: the air, the water, the food. Where were the elites planning to go to spend their billions and live a life of luxury and ease after they poisoned and destroyed the planet? How long did they plan to rough it underground in their bunkers? These people are not just stupid, they're insane. The plan has been exposed. Oh, on a happy note, this is a reporter out of the Middle East who said Iran's deputy foreign minister says the Iran nuclear deal is no longer sustainable for Iran in its present form without regard to a U.S. exit. Essentially, Iran has signaled its intent to withdraw from the Iran deal, regardless of what we do. Trump didn't even have to confront Iran. They are now saying they're out. I want to finish up on this. Those of you who have been waiting for arrests, in order for these politicians to be arrested, in order for anyone to understand why they're being arrested, you have to produce public proof of their corruption. Indisputable public proof that they lied, that they were corrupt, and that they broke the law. The public exposure by Netanyahu about the Iran deal, how it was really just constructed to allow Iran to build nuclear weapons so they could start World War III. That information being made public now proves, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Hillary and Obama and John Kerry and all of these people colluded with terrorists to destroy the world. Now they can start making arrests because the evidence has been made public, and when people find out what happened with the Iran deal and what was really going on, now they can start making arrests. And I would be surprised if some of these people aren't already in Gitmo. One last thing I want to close with here. On March 10th, Q posted this: "We're saving Israel for last. Very specific reason they were not mentioned a single time." Q. Israel was not mentioned because Q knew that Israel had the evidence that would expose all of this. They saved Israel for last because Israel would be the one that would break the back of the globalists. That is all I have for you. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for sharing this on social media. Those of you who support us financially, we love you. Even if you don't support us financially, we love you. You're amazing. Keep us in prayer. Keep the president in prayer. Praying Medic signing off. I will catch you on the next broadcast.